Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ken here, and I am so excited about what we're going to cover on the show today. I've got the original shark from the hit TV series The Shark Tank. Kevin Harrington has literally created hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in investing in early stage companies. And he's one of the leading pioneers in the entire infomercial world. We're going to spend some time with Kevin Harrington today and find out how did he do it, right after we tune in with our little getting started message.
So the big question is this: how is a tiny percentage of entrepreneurs blow the pack away? What are they doing that we're not? I asked myself that question for 10 years. I was failing forward and getting sick of it. I wanted to build a coaching business, but couldn't make any headway. So I started studying. I realized that the world's most elite marketers, entrepreneurs, and gurus were all using the same 4-step system. I call it the authority factor. On the show, I'm going to prove to you that the authority factor worked for them and it'll work for you. My name is Ken Dunn. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Hey guys, help me welcome Mr. Kevin Harrington. Kevin, how are you, my man?
Ken, all right. I'm excellent. Fantastic. Good to be here today. And it's good to talk to some entrepreneurs, I think, huh? We're going to have some fun.
Absolutely. So where are you now, man? I know we all got hit with this pandemic and we kind of got bunkered down. Where's the bunker down for you?
Well, I'm down in St. Petersburg, Florida, Tampa, Florida. I've been here about 26 years. I did pay my dues, grew up in Ohio, where it's very cold up there. So I know it's cold up north in Canada, where many folks are from. But I've been down here 26 years. I moved here because of Home Shopping Network back in the early days and a venture with them. But it's been a little sunny here lately, and we've had some good weather. And hunkering down, bunkering down, you know, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, as people are starting to come onto the show, I'll just let you and everybody know and remind everybody that the whole reason I'm doing this is using my influence and my ability to connect with some of the world's top leaders just to get some time with them and review how do they get to where they are. And I think there's similarities in a lot of the journeys. The uniqueness is the stories behind the journeys. And so, Kevin, with that in mind, I'd really appreciate it if you could spend a couple minutes and, you know, tell us, like, where did the original Kevin come from and how did you get into infomercials? What was the life like before infomercials?
Okay, great. It's a quick story, but I grew up one of 6 kids, Cincinnati, Ohio, not a great big town, but, you know, kind of blue collar area. My father was a bartender. And I had, as he was saving money, he saved up enough money to open up his first restaurant called Harrington's Irish Pub. And so I started at 11 years old working in my father's restaurants and bars. And when I turned 15, my dad was a mentor to me. And he said, Kevin, you know, you're making $1 an hour working in the bar. Don't you want to make big money? And I've said, I certainly do. He says, great, you need to own your own business. And so that was at 15. I was in high school. I started a driveway sealing business. Then I graduated from high school, got to college. I started a heating and air conditioning company. And wow. and so I had money, and I was, you know, not a ton of money, but I was successful. I had a multi-million-dollar business back in the day. And this is back in the 70s. So it was pretty powerful little venture. And I quit school, and one day I was watching cable TV and the screen went dark, one of the channels I was watching, and I found out the channel was only it was Discovery Channel, 18 hours a day. They had programming, 6 hours of nothing because it was a new channel and they didn't have enough money to program 24 hours. So I went down, I met with the Discovery Channel people, and I cut a deal to take that 6-hour block and start putting products in there. So we started with kitchen products, then hardware, then Billy Mays, then Jack LaLanne and the Juicer, George Foreman, and the Kardashian family, the Jenners, you name it. We did celebrities, 50 cents headphones. We were doing tens of millions of dollars. And bottom line is we were kind of like there we created really that pioneering aspect of the infomercial industry back in the early 80s, early 90s onward to today.
But Kevin, where did you get the idea from? Like, I hear what you're saying, you know, you found the TV station, but like, how does somebody's mind pioneer something that's never been done before. Like, where did you get the idea to, I'll just take all this dead airtime and start selling stuff? What, like, what's
what I said was to myself, I remember going through this process. I said, so I'm thinking, what can people sell on this downtime? Maybe, we could do the classifieds. People could sell their bicycles. They could sell refrigerators,
Oh, wow.
Old appliances, and then I'm like, there we're only going to sell one-off kinds of things. What if we were to sell something that people could reorder anytime, right? And so that's when I said, what are the greatest categories to be in? Everyone's got a kitchen, right? So we started doing knife sets. And this is what happened, Ken. If you've ever been to a trade show, and I've been in Calgary, what do they call it? The Stampede up there,
Yeah.
right? So there's people up there demonstrating products, okay? I remember a guy called me from the Calgary Stampede. He said, I've got a product that goes on leather that it's called Riding in the Rain, and it repels water. And he's doing all these demos, and I'm like, wow, that's powerful. It's like he sells this to people for their boots and for their jackets, the cowboy outfits. And so we started doing Riding in the Rain on infomercials. And so you just never know where it's going to come from. But that's where I met Billy Mays, the bearded guy that was doing OxyClean and all those kind of things. So we had Billy Mays, Arnold Morris, and again, Jack LaLanne, George Foreman.
Yeah.
Everybody that had a product. I mean, for example, George, the boxer, what are we selling now? We're selling the George Foreman Knockout Pain Cream with CBD oils, right? So we upgrade and bring the latest and greatest back to the marketplace in the process. So
that's amazing. And Kevin, this searching mind of yours, it's never stopped, has it? Like, I just found out about 3 days ago that you're actually in partnership with a friend of mine named Tracy Fines.
Yes.
And you're working on an aromatherapy product. Like, is it just that you can't turn your mind off, or is it just such a passion for you to explore new products, or what?
Well, I will tell you, I've had a little sleep issue at times because my mind's going like this at 11 o'clock when I'm trying to go to bed. And how do I shut that thing down? Because I'm getting right now during this crisis that we're all in, I'm getting calls from all over the world. I'm doing virtual summits like we're doing right now every single day, reaching out to people that are looking for help, looking for guidance. I have been a mentor to literally thousands of people over the years, and just it's my time now to kind of give back to the entrepreneurial community. And so there's not enough hours in the day to do it, and I just have to I go until I can't go any longer, and just kind of pass out and go to sleep and get back at it again and start in the morning when I awake refreshed and ready to go. But been a lot of fun, and people need help right now,
but we're not done yet. I mean, like, you would be just in this elite level of your own had you just stayed in the infomercial game. But it's not just that anymore. At what time or at what phase did it switch into early stage company investing? Like, when, or was that always happening behind the scenes?
So I would invest in people's products back in the day. And as I was investing in products, people would see, oh, we invested in this product. We built it to $100 million. I built more than 20 companies to over 100 million. So now people with any kind of business came to me, people with real estate, people with restaurants, people with service businesses. So I started it was around the time, certainly I got that phone call from Mark Burnett to go on Shark Tank. And of course you have Dragon's Den in Canada, it's Shark Tank here in the US. And so when I got on Shark Tank, everybody was reaching out. It wasn't just people with products. Now I started looking at many other deals, and I started getting involved with the digital marketing business. We started getting involved with service businesses, software companies, etc. So it kind of opened up when I got on Shark Tank, I think.
That's fascinating. And now, because of Shark Tank, how, on a daily basis or on a weekly, monthly basis, how many pitches would you guesstimate that you're receiving regularly from small businesses and early stage companies?
So, prior to the COVID shutdown, I would go to the many trade shows, the Consumer Electronics Show, CES show in Vegas, the hardware show, the houseware show, the fitness shows, the beauty shows, golf, PGA show, toy fair, etc. I would do 25 trade shows a year, and I took pitches at all these shows. Now we're doing them virtually, but I take thousands of pitches a year. I've taken tens of thousands of pitches over time, and it's over 50,000 pitches. So I know a thing or two about getting a good pitch for sure. So yeah, it's been a really successful last 10 years since Shark Tank, helping people that have come out of the woodworks from viewing Shark Tank.
Yeah, and for everybody that's watching this, whether you're watching it live with us or you're checking it out at a bit of a later time, we're really blessed here at Easier Life and the Authority Factory because Kevin has agreed to be a long-term keynoter at our live Easier Life Mastery events. And if you have any interest in ever getting in front of the shark and pitching anything, a small business opportunity, that's a great forum for you to do that. So make sure to check that out. But Kevin, let's switch gears again, because if not infomercials wasn't enough, you know, even though you've done hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, worked with some of the biggest names in that game, early stage company investing. I mean, the original Shark on Shark Tank. Now there's this new focus on helping people, and I've never seen such a dramatic, focused push down that road as you're doing right now. Like, what has happened that you're now at a point where you're saying, man, I'm going to work harder than I ever have before, but my goal is to work one-on-one with as many entrepreneurs as I can and help as many people as I can. What made that snap?
So one of my greatest mentors is Zig Ziglar. And I know hopefully most of the folks listening are familiar with Zig. Zig wrote 40 books in 35 languages, thousands of hours of videos. Zig, his life was very powerful. And the biggest lesson I learned from Zig is you can get everything you want out of life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And so a few years back, as I tuned into Zig and what he was teaching and this message, I said, it's time for me to shift. I've made money. I've been successful. We've done billions of dollars. I've been to the top of the mountain. Hey, made some mistakes, gave some of it back for sure. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, more deals have failed than have succeeded, but that's business and that's okay. But I decided that if, you know, people, after going on Shark Tank and getting all these calls for help, I realized that, hey, the world really needs more great mentors. And I've had some good ones in my life. I mentioned Zig Ziglar. Richard Branson shared a couple days with me at his island down in Necker Island. And so I've spent literally the last number of years, you know, Tony Robbins and I go way back also. And so from dealing with some powerful people like Branson, Tony Robbins, and Russell Brunson and Zig Ziglar, I said, it's time for me to start imparting this knowledge to the masses that are out there. And so, as you well know, this is why I'm excited to come to Calgary, hang out up there. We got so many great things. I've had some great relationships with folks from Canada, and you just mentioned Tracy Fines. It's a small world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, if you're tuning in with us right now and you've got any questions you want to ask the shark, just go ahead and type the questions in the comments. I see Grace Wong's here. Hi, Grace. Good to see you. Kevin, let's talk about, there's a couple things that I try to pull out of every single one of us that comes on this show. And you know, I was a police interrogator, so I'm not going to stop until I get the real story.
Great.
But I've talked to hundreds of people, and a lot of them are some of the greatest people in the world, in my opinion. And I know for a fact that before the first big infomercial hit, there was hundreds of chances that you took. There was tons of rejection you got. There was things that didn't go right. And so there's two things I'd love to know from you. I'd love to know what comes to your mind when you think about the dark side of the early days. Like, what was the moment when you were like, I'm just going to give up on this shit? And then on the tail of that, I'm going to come back and circle around and ask you, like, what was the real big break, and what was that like in detail? But let's start, let's inspire some folks here who are going through those struggles right now. What do you think of when I ask you, what was the pain of the early day? What comes to mind?
Yeah. So the early days, we didn't know, because we had never sold any products on television. So we didn't know what categories worked, right? We tried a lot of different things. My first 10 projects failed. And I was literally ready to call it quits. But when we got into this one item that cranked, it was called the Food Saver, a vacuum food sealing device.
Oh, wow.
You ever seen that product?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The guy brought me this product, sets it down in front of me, and crushes a Coca-Cola can with the power of that machine in the very beginning. And so I said, wow, that is an unbelievable demonstration. And so I found out that the best products were products that were being demonstrated and pitched. So something that had a successful track record. So this Food Saver, we did that project and it took off. And I was just blown away because it was a $300 vacuum food sealer for the kitchen. Right. And so then we said, well, what about, hey, if people are going to buy that, what about knife sets? What about blenders? What about woks? And so we started. So one of the challenges was getting the categories and the things that work. Why do kitchen products work? Because especially now during the shutdown, right, people are at home. Kitchen products are screaming. Tools, DIY, do it yourself. So we had to figure out the formula, the categories, etc. Once we zoned in on this, now we were having 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 successes instead of 1 out of 10. And then I started doing research and in mental preparedness and hitting bottom and all that kind of stuff. And I mentioned Zig Ziglar, and he was a mentor to me, but also I started reading about lots of famous people. Like one of my favorites was then Winston Churchill, who I never met. He was long gone before I came around. But Winston had a saying, said, success is being able to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm.
Right, exactly.
Okay? So I'm like, wait a minute, what? You're going to be enthused to fail? Yes, because it takes 2 or 3 to get to the winner. So when my son first came in, he's 10 years, he's 32 years old now, but he's been with me 10 years. When he first started, he reminded me when I first started, oh, something bombed, it didn't work. But he'd say, Dad, what's wrong? Are we out of business? I'm like, Brian, let's do a few more. Then by the 3rd or 4th, we'd hit one and he'd say, oh, I get it. This is a numbers game. You got to do 3 or 4 to get the one that works. But when the one worked, it would do 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, maybe 100 million. I could pay for a lot of losers. So we had to adjust our mentality, and now we're hitting 1 out of 3, but we're able to take folks that are out there right now that have never done it before, bring them right into success from the beginning.
Kevin, is it fair to say that, like, it really, it almost sounds cliche to say it, but you have to go through those struggles. You have to go through those failures. And I guess the $1 million question is, when you think back about all the struggles in the beginning, before your first hit, thank God for the Food Saver. I mean, good gosh. Do you think you ever would have quit, or would you have kept going, kept fighting, kept trying to find that first win?
Well, this is the thing. The 6 hours of time that I picked up on Discovery Channel, we had a situation there where we just owned the block. So as we were filling it, we were making sales, just some things weren't doing very well.
Right, exactly.
What's happening is some started doing better than others. So pretty early on, we realized this was really kind of fine tuning the categories of products that worked and then what made them successful. And let me tell you something that we used. And we would send our completed infomercials off to they call them places that do review and analysis.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? So we would send these shows off, and they would sit people down, and they would watch the show, but they had a dial in front of them. As they're watching my 30-minute infomercial, if they like something, they turn the dial to the right, positive. If they didn't like something, they turned it to the left. So we can now take a 30-minute show and map it, the peaks, the valleys of what they liked, what they didn't like. This was a technology we started using for focus groups, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Now we take a 30-minute show and we'd say, oh, wow, look at what everyone's liking when they said this and this and this. So let's say that earlier. Let's do, so we now started getting very good with our creative and our content. And so there was tools we used to get a lot smarter. And I guess getting back to why everyone's listening to us today, we have the tools to help you get smarter. We've been using them for years, and this is why you should pay attention to what Ken's talking about, okay?
Hey, listen, if anybody here has been inspired by Kevin and you guys want to find out how to get closer to the man, there are some programs that I know about where he does one-on-one coaching with people. And as you can imagine, getting into those programs, there's no direct path. You've got to know somebody that knows the man. So go ahead and type Kevin in the comments if you want one of my folks to follow up with you and tell you a little bit more about how to connect with Kevin Harrington one-on-one. And also, I got to tell everybody, I use StreamYard for these interviews. And so on Facebook, above the video, there's a little commentary with a link to facebook.com/StreamYard. On YouTube, it's in the notes below the show. You got to click on that link and give YouTube and Facebook permission to show us your name because we can't see everybody's names. Eric Eaton just asked in the comments, Kevin, what are you going to be talking about at the upcoming Easier Life Online Virtual Summit? Why don't you give people a little bit of a feel for what you're going to be talking about at our live events?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about quite a few things, but certainly one of the big questions I'm getting from a lot of people is, should I be pivoting? What should I be doing? What are the opportunities that are out there? So I'm going to share some of the latest tips and techniques that we've used to focus on opportunities today in the crisis we're in, because I have been reviewing and doing a lot of studying of many people around me, some of my peers, some folks like Warren Buffett. I mentioned Richard Branson. I'm going to be bringing some of the tips of the billionaires and even my own stuff also. So the bottom line is that there are things to do in times of crisis. I've been through several in my lifetime. One was 1990 when the Gulf War hit. And I survived that and not just survived, but I thrived through that one. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about building your brand and how you can become a key person of influence out in the marketplace that you're in, the most talked about, most respected person in your industry type of thing, so that you get all the deal flow and the leads and things like that. We're going to be talking about how to structure commerce businesses. What are some of the hottest e-commerce plays right now? Because retail has been tough. E-commerce is enjoying some pretty good successes. Not everywhere, but we're going to focus on the good ones. So this is just kind of some general highlights, building your brand, getting positioned in the market as the key person of influence, creating pitches, how to get get a pitch to raise some capital. Love talking about helping people raise money because that's why most people come to me. They want cash, they want money. So I invest in businesses, but I also show people how they can go get money and in the process. That's very powerful if you learn how to do that too. So that's a quick little overview of some of the powerful things we're going to be teaching.
Kevin, I gotta circle back on this topic you just breached with us because it's really tied to what I've been studying for the last 15 years. You use the term key person of influence. As I've studied hundreds and hundreds of people like Kevin Harrington's and Russell Brunson's and Tony Robbins and everybody, I realized that there's basically 4 steps that every entrepreneur needs to travel on this road to getting to a 7 or an 8-figure business online, a coaching business, whatever they're doing. And I've labeled them first they have to build themselves, then naturally they'll build their following, then naturally they'll build their list, then naturally they'll build their income. And that building yourself first step is all about how do you create a persona that stands out? And you just called it a key person of influence. If somebody wants to do that, I would say that probably one of the first steps is whatever you're wanting to build your persona around, it's got to be something that you're truly an expert in and you're truly passionate about.
Yes.
How important do you think that is to the whole key person of influence idea?
I think it's probably it's an unwritten first step, okay? Because I have a 7-step process to become a key person of influence. The step that I don't talk about is the passion that you've got to have on the front end of believing in yourself and your idea. So I think there's people out there right now that maybe are on the fence about their passion, but we're going to let them come to this event also because we can show you how to increase your passion. But once you get the passion and you follow the system that we've put forth, you're going to be able to execute that and become a key person of influence in your industries. But it starts by believing in yourself and having the passion of what business you're in, for sure.
Hey, friends, if you're going to sign up and join us at the virtual summit, Easier Life Online, it's June 5th to 7th. And then, of course, follow on to that later, Easier Life Mastery events. Make sure you go through those pages of that website because Kevin is going to be doing a very, very special Q&A after his keynote talk. And you only get access to that if you're at one of the graduated ticket levels. So definitely take the time to do that. Kevin, you've got 1,000 entrepreneurs standing in front of you. They're all scared to death. They've all have the expertise and all those prerequisites, but they're really struggling to understand what's the first move. If they want to build business, if they want to get to those key persons of influence level, what's that first piece of advice that you want to give to that person?
First piece of advice, you need to get some good advice, okay? You need a mentor in your life. I have 6 or 7 today, and I mentioned several of them, very big profile ones, Richard Branson, Zig Ziglar. I've had many others at high levels. And I have others that are just experts in their industry. I have two full-time lawyers. One of them is an amazing mentor to me in the legal side. I've got finance mentors, etc. So, you need to get a great mentor. You need to surround yourself, and I call it putting together an amazing dream team is what you need to do. So get some good people to surround yourself with, people that are good at what they do and how they round off all of the things needed for a good company. And so I've got finance, operations, legal, digital folks in my world that help me with the things that I'm not skilled at. And so people that are starting today, don't be afraid, get a mentor, get an advisor, get a little board of directors, get some people on board to help you get through these tough times and give you some great advice. People that have been there before and done it, because they're going to shortcut things for you. You'll save money, you'll make more money, you'll have better access to the right people. And that is the power step we're going to be talking about also in our upcoming event too.
There you have it, right from the original shark, Mr. Kevin Harrington. Brother, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate you.
Ken, thank you, buddy. Good to be here. Bye-bye.
Well, friends, you heard it here first. And here's the reality. If you are truly looking to step out, whether it's to become a key person of influence or to build that major early startup company, that early stage company, take Kevin's advice seriously. If you want more information about getting closer to Kevin, maybe working one-on-one with him, getting into a coaching relationship with him, go into the chat and write the word Kevin, write Kevin's name in the chat, and we'll definitely get you hooked up with the man. He is worth every second of time that you could pay to spend with him. And if you want more information on some of the upcoming shows that we're doing and the incredible world caliber guests that we have on our show, make sure you check out the Authority Factor Facebook page and the Authority Factor YouTube channel. See y'all soon.